Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Redeem Her Time podcast. I love when, you know how when you've been connecting with somebody online and, you've been exchanging voice messages and texts and, kind of maybe gotten on a Zoom once in a while. Well, Ash Huber, my guest today, she and I have been playing this really fun game over the past year. And so we were just saying, I can't believe we get to be in the same room together today. And I'm excited because Ash has a brand new book that's coming out. And she's going to help teach us today how to do the 6-minute Inside Makeover and how we can actually redeem our time from the inside out. Because when we manage our nervous system, that often matters more than managing our schedule. So Ash, welcome to the Redeem Her Time podcast. I know you've been a listener for a while. It's really fun to have you as a guest. So because my audience probably doesn't know you yet, tell us a little bit about you. And first, what things you're juggling in this season of life.
Oh, I love that whole question. I'm waving at you. You can't see me, but you'll feel the wave. I am Ashriel Huber. And yes, most people call me Ash because it's just easier for baristas and everyone else. So in this season, I would say I'm wearing a lot of hats. I'm a hat collector. I am a wife. I'm a mama. I'm in ministry leadership and early childhood education. I run my Called and Curious brand. I host the podcast. And I'm stepping into like you mentioned, a very full season with Love Moves and the book coming out. And what's kind of funny is I have worked with little kids my whole life. I love it. And when God called me out of the classroom and into leadership, I was like, respectfully, no, thank you. No, thank you. That did not feel like me. So he tapped me on the shoulder a few more times. And I stepped into ministry leadership. And I'll be honest, I'll be very honest, because some woman there needs to know this. I didn't do it very well at first. It was a bit of a dumpster fire season for me. But over time, through a whole lot of Jesus and growth, that's really where this work started to form inside me, because I wasn't just leading others. Really, I was learning how to lead myself. And now I would say for the majority of days that I live a full life, but I don't experience it in the same way I used to. I experience my life more beautifully. And that's what I would want for any Christian woman out there to say, hey, I can experience my life more beautifully.
I love that, because the thing of it is we can't change time, even though we would love to have more time to fit more in, but we can change how we experience it and the outcome of it. And that has everything to do with what you do. So tell us a little bit more. I love the dumpster fire. I think we can all relate to that. Now we'll get more into that here in a little bit, but tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with women. Like, how has God called you to help them to reset their nervous systems, to quiet the mental spirals that go on in our head, and to be able to live from that more peaceful place? I'm sure there's probably a little bit of a story behind that, about how he brought you there.
Yes, because, I was very used to teaching kindergartners. That was my bread and butter. If you were 5, I could pretty much teach you anything you needed to know. And we were going to have a whole lot of fun doing it. So when I got called into leadership, I was like, oh, does that mean my teaching days are done? Is this all over? But the funny thing is you look back and you just see all these fingerprints of Jesus as he worked it, that now I still teach, but I teach different people, big people. So now I work with ambitious Christian women. Most of them are mamas. They are leaders. They are builders. They're creators. And I help them calm their bodies, quiet the mental spirals, and actually embody God's peace in real life. Because what I found is a lot of us love God. We know truth. We're doing the things. But inside, we feel scattered, we feel heavy, we feel reactive. And we think the solution is, oh, I need to think better. I'm just going to think my way out of this, or I'm going to try harder. I'm going to be more disciplined. But the truth is, truth doesn't land the same way in a dysregulated body. So what I do is I teach what I call love moves. They are simple 6-minute inside out makeovers that help you shift your state so you can experience your life differently. It's like a portable gym for your nervous system.
Girl, in 6 minutes, who doesn't have 6 minutes, right? I mean, we all probably spend 6 minutes doing things that aren't going to help our nervous system in any way, shape, or form, and aren't guiding us towards truth either. So I love the fact that you're making it simple and yet something that's so impactful. Because like you said, it brings us to this place. So let's talk about this, because growth, especially as women like you who are wearing a lot of hats, growth can be really exhausting. Especially when we're trying to do everything. So like, why does this happen? High capacity women who keep taking on more things, right? Like, why do so many women feel drained, reactive, behind? That's a the key thing that I often hear, we talk about time, I always feel behind, even when they're doing all the things or even doing all the right things. How does this even happen?
Oh, I am so glad you asked because I think all of us have experienced it. Like, I know I have, like, I feel behind, even though I feel like I've checked all the boxes, I've listened to all the gurus. And what I tell women, the reason we experience this is because growth feels unsafe to your nervous system. God bless it. Anytime you step into something new, a new level, a new calling, a new responsibility, your brain goes, wait, hold on, is this safe? And
Mm,
if your body doesn't feel safe, your brain starts throwing up all these red flags. So what happens is you're moving forward, but your system keeps pulling you back. And that tension is exhausting. So it's not that you're failing, it's that your nervous system is working overtime to protect you. So eventually, if you keep going with it, if you are consistent, you'll eventually get there. But if you take the time to actually calm your body down, and then go back into process, then you can see, oh, actually what I'm experiencing is just change. This is the gap of change and it's uncomfortable and it's not fun and I don't love it, but it's not a message. Because a lot of times I think as women, we internalize those feelings as a message. I feel behind, I feel drained. It's a message that I'm just not good enough or doing enough. When in reality, we're just fighting our physiology.
yeah, it's so interesting how we chase that not enoughness in so many ways. And it's almost like we find evidence of that all around us, especially in how, something feels. So like, how do we tell the difference between that feeling or that thought that may come in our head, like this is hard and this isn't for me, because we don't want to quit on what God's calling us to do prematurely. But if he is saying this isn't what I have for you, then we don't want to stay on that path either. So what would you say would be, how we can tell the difference between this is hard and this isn't for me?
Oh, this is a big one because I think this is where so many women quietly step out of what they were actually called to do. Because a lot of times discomfort, it gets labeled as misalignment, but they're not the same.
Okay.
So let me make it really real. Like when we say this is hard, often that would sound like I don't feel confident. I don't know if I can do this. This feels really uncomfortable, or I'm always second guessing myself. But underneath it, there's still alignment. So when we say this is hard, we're still aligned. There's still that pull. It's just we're not comfortable. But this isn't for me. I think that one lands a little differently. That's more like this drains me every time. This consistently feels off. There's no peace here, even when I'm steady. But here's the problem. When your nervous system is overwhelmed, everything feels like a no.
Right.
So a lot of women, they're going, "Ooh, I'm feeling all these things," and they're making calling decisions from a dysregulated state. So practically, here's what I tell women. Before you decide if something is wrong or not for you, pause and regulate first, because you are not going to find any sort of clarity when you are coming from a chaotic state. So once your body settles, then ask, is this stretching me or is this misaligned? Because a lot of the time, it's not that it's wrong, it's that it's new and our bodies just haven't caught up yet.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting because they're so connected and interconnected, and we can't see that connection. And yet our bodies sometimes are just screaming at us saying, wait, wait, wait. Now, you mentioned earlier watching a dumpster fire. So I want to kind of dive into that a little bit because I'm sure that someone listening today was like, yeah, I can relate to that. So what do you mean when you say stop watching the dumpster fire in everyday life? And how would maybe changing that mindset help us reclaim some of our time, mental bandwidth, energy, things like that for what we are supposed to be focusing our time on?
Oh, this one's one of my favorites because I was the girl that used to like pop the popcorn and go sit out and watch the dumpster fire for hours at a time. So picture this. You've got something in your life that's not going well. It's messy, it's frustrating, it's overwhelming. It is a full-on dumpster fire. And instead of stepping back or doing something helpful, what do? We usually stand there with these little cups of water and we just toss them on the fire and we're like, well, that should fix it. And then we just keep watching it burn. And that's what we do mentally. We stare at the problem. We rehearse it over and over. We analyze it and our attention gets completely hijacked. And here's the thing. You can't redeem your time if your attention is stuck on what's burning. So it's not about ignoring problems, but it's also about not living there.
Yeah, which is a big difference, right? I mean, yes, if it's going to happen, we're going to notice it, but we don't have to camp out there. like you're talking about. So let's start transitioning to, okay, so what we know what not to do and how we can get stuck in this dysregulated place, and then how it's obviously going to affect our decision making, where we're saying yes to, with our time, other things that are going on. So how do we be good stewards who are faithful and fruitful with our time? You talked about the 6-minute Inside Makeover. So tell us a little bit more about, like, what does that look like, and how does something so simple as 6 minutes actually shift things for us? And what kinds of things does it shift?
Well, thank you for asking, because I think that's something we all need to do more. We need to ask for help, be curious. We need tools, we need connection, we need other people. I think that's how God designed our brains and bodies. And so the tool of a love move is something that I think has it's changed my life, it's changed a lot of women's lives, but it's because it's so simple and it's so easy to use and it works. So, yeah, let's break it down. I want to make it really clear and practical because it's within this tool that everything shifts. So, this is what I call a love move. It is a 6-minute inside out makeover, and it works in a very intentional order. So, we don't start with our thoughts, we start with our body. So in that 6 minutes, it's a little video and audio, whichever one you start with. But the first thing we always do is we move, because when your body is stressed, your brain is not thinking clearly. And movement helps release that tension, and it signals safety to your body. So now that our body is starting to feel safe, we've activated our parasympathetic state, then we pray. And this is not a performance prayer. It doesn't have to sound a certain way. It is just honest connection and bringing your attention and gratitude back to Jesus. It might be as simple as, Jesus, I need you here right now. I just thank you for being the carrier of all good things in my life. And then we shift our attention. And here's the key. We have to shift our attention, and we do that through really good questions. And so finding really good questions really shifts our attention and our focus. So I love to use, at the very basic, SMRM. And so I'll break down what that framework sounds like, but you can use it in the wild, just throw on a worship song and do it. You can go along with one of the videos, but it's something that's so easy that can really just capture your thoughts and bring your attention back to what matters. So with S, we say something I love about my surroundings. And if you can make it a natural space, oh, even better. And then M, something I love about this moment. And this question really grounds us to be grateful in the present. And then R, something I love about a relationship that I have. And again, our bodies, our brains, they were designed for connection. So when we take the time to think about that, it really helps activate that neurochemical. And then we have the final M, something I love about myself. And I think that's such an important question to ask ourselves, because God gave us gifts. We should be able to look at that, recognize it, and thank Him for it. And when we go through SMRM, what we're really doing is retraining our attention, because your brain naturally scans for what's wrong. So we are intentionally guiding it towards what is good, and we are thanking God for it. And when we do that, what happens is your nervous system settles, your thoughts get quieter, your perspective shifts, and suddenly, same life, different experience.
It's so interesting how that's all interconnected. I love that. Like, you're getting us, I think this is the problem. We are so busy and distracted. Our brain is going in a million directions. And so oftentimes what we think is, I got to manage my schedule. I pull out my planner and I try to fix something on it, or I pull out my to-do list, right? Because I'm like, okay, if I can just prioritize these things I have to do. But I feel like you're telling us, wait, it's actually more important to manage your nervous system first. Not that those other things don't matter, but then it's going to bring you in a different place to your schedule, to your to-do list, things like that, right? Like, how do you see the difference between when you do this first before you just jump right to your planner or your to-do list versus when, that's the primary place that we're focusing?
What it creates is a different experience. I like to tell people, I can give you 100% guarantee I cannot change any circumstance in your life.
Right.
I've got zero power to do that. But what I can help you do is experience what you're going through differently. So if you start off with a love move, like my favorite one, we can talk about it more later, is just first thing in the morning. That is your pre-frame for the day. That is filling up with Jesus so you can go pour out and do all the things that you've been called to do. So if you skip it, if you're like, I'm just going to hit the ground running, that's fine. But you chose a cognitive load before going to your spiritual filling. And you might get some of the things done, but you're not going to have a great experience doing it. It's going to be draining. You're going to put your body back into the stress cycle. And once you're back in the stress cycle, that affects everything else. Like you said, it's all interconnected. So once you go through without getting filled up first, then you come from scarcity. So you're just trying to do the things so you might accomplish it, but you're not going to feel real good in that process.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned one. I would love to hear maybe a couple more examples. I know you sent me one for sleep, so there's ones towards the end of the day. What are just kind of maybe tease us with a few practical love moves that women can incorporate throughout their day when they might need something like that?
I love it. So for me, I'm that girl who loves all things makeovers. So I love a good makeover. It could be a house, could be, a closet, could be a body, whatever it is. I love a makeover. And I think it's just as important that we make over our thoughts and our moments. And so with that, yes, I have a full collection. There's 17 right now and it keeps growing, but we have some for like leadership growth. When you don't feel confident stepping into who you've been called to be, it helps you step into your servant leaderhood and just feel good doing it. So it really builds that confidence muscle. That's one of my favorites. I have the stress less peace pill and the stress less energy pill. I use those one in tandem quite a bit. I have a full coffee line to help wake up in the morning. So to fill up, a cup of coffee, a little bit of Jesus, all those things. I think some of my favorite ones though, I made an abide one after going through a really deep abide season with Jesus and in my devotional time in the mornings. And so after that, I made an abide love move reset. And it's much quieter. It's more about coming down, but it really kind of just helps me come back and spend that time with Jesus. And I love it because they're not just making over my moments. It's also intentional time to focus on Jesus. So both of those things just really change how I show up and experience my day. So yeah, I love them. I think there's so many that you can choose from, like a candy bowl. My favorite new one that we just did is the celebration reset. And it's like a little celebration party and we dance it out and we have so much fun. But the reality is we spend time with Jesus celebrating what matters.
Yeah, I love it. It's getting us present to the moment because how quickly are we already on in our heads to the next thing? And we're not actually paying attention to whether it's something we want to celebrate or maybe something we need to feel or something that, we just want to be quiet and present to before moving on to the next thing. Like, what a beautiful way to do this. So I love that you're making it so timely. 6 minutes for a quick little love move is not a lot of time. And, who doesn't have time if it's going to produce a result? So let's connect the dots, right? How does taking the 6 minutes, right, to reset internally first, how does it affect the return on our time invested when we do then go into what our calendar is telling us is next or our to-do list?
Oh, that's a great question because when you're reactive, we're actually losing time. You just don't realize it. Okay. So that's an interesting part from it as well. And I think when we go into that reactive mode, we start second guessing more. We start reworking everything, even though it was probably good enough as it was, or we get distracted. We start spinning in our thoughts. But when you're steady, you make decisions faster. You follow through more easily. You recover quickly, more quickly at least. Like that's the goal when things go sideways. So your return on time invested goes way up because you're not just doing more, you're doing it from a better place. So I always tell women, if you want that starting place, I always tell them 1, 2, 3. 1, plan it. 2, pre-frame it. And 3, track it. So if you're going to plan it before your week starts, get your planner, Alyssa. It's amazing. And sit down and decide, how do I want to feel? How do I want to show up and plan ahead your 3 love moves for that whole next week for each day? I've got a big meeting on Tuesday morning. I'm going to do leadership growth in the morning for my first love move. And I want some peace afterwards. I'm going to do the peace pill in the middle. And then at night, I want the wonderfully made to live beautifully reset so I can just experience my worth. So I'm going to plan it all out. And then you pre-frame it. Start your mornings with Jesus. Before the world gets your attention, anchor it in him. Fill up so you can pour out. Yeah. And then 3, track it. Everyone always says, well, what's the number one tool? I'm like, tracking. Because what gets measured gets managed. It builds awareness. And more than anything, it builds accountability. And accountability keeps us safe. So to get that return on time invested, we have to have a plan. So I tell women, plan it, pre-frame it, track it. And then you're going to get that benefit of not just living in the chaotic brain where you're second guessing and distracted and spinning. You're actually making these decisions from a better place. And that feels better and it goes a whole lot faster. So you have time for like a Slurpee run, whatever you need to do.
Whatever that thing is. I love it. I love it. I love how a little bit of time can really buy back a whole lot of, of our time and attention that could otherwise be going in opposite directions. So sounds like this is definitely a way to lead better, to love better, to reclaim our time without, running ourselves into the ground or reacting all day long. So I'm thinking about a couple different ladies who might be listening right now. Would love to hear what encouragement would you give to each one of them. One person is that woman who's like, she is in that, like, I'm constantly busy, I'm overreacting, I'm overwhelmed, like I'm just always probably at this heightened place when it comes to her nervous system, but maybe she wouldn't put those words to it. What would you say to her? And what would you say to that person maybe who is not quite at that, high peak level, but she just wants to, she's ready to lead. She wants to live from that clarity and calmness and not get into that reactive state.
Oh, I already love these two girls. I don't even know them yet, but I love them. First thing I would tell both of them together is that you don't experience your life based on what's happening. We think we do, but we don't. We experience our lives based on our internal state while it's happening. So we want to invest there. Like you said, we can lead better, love better, think better, feel better, all those things. So let's talk to the two listeners. Let's call that first one, the one who's behind, overwhelmed. Let's call her Emily. Let's talk to Emily. Emily, you constantly feel behind, overwhelmed, and reactive, but what you're feeling right now, it's not a failure of your faith. You have a body that's overwhelmed, my friend. Jesus isn't asking you to try harder in this moment. He is inviting you to come back to him. Let your body settle so you can receive and experience his peace again. You don't need to fix your life. You don't need a to-do list. You just need a moment to come back to steady. So we love you, Emily. We see you. We hear you. And then you have the other one. You said she's not reacting. She wants to step into leadership. Or let's call her Rachel. All right, Rachel. Rachel, your edge is this. You are learning to lead from a place of abiding, of doing it with Jesus. You are not striving. Your Savior said, abide in me. And when you do that, you don't have to force clarity. It just flows. So you don't have to push peace. It's present. It's already there. You just need to look for Jesus and his peace. So it's not about doing more, Rachel. It's about staying connected as you move forward into leadership. So everything that you do flows from him and not from pressure.
Yeah. Don't we all need that, right? Yes, I love it. So thank you so much for that. And I'm sure a lot of us can hear, maybe some of us in both Emily and Rachel, and just thinking about, different times of our day or our week, we may feel like we're more dysregulated than others. And so what good reminders to kind of pull us back here. So, well, this is really important work. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, I was like, if Emily and Rachel happen to be listening, like specifically, we would just love to hear from you. Like that would mean the world to us.
Yeah. Let us know. And of course, that's what we'll be talking about here in a minute, because we always take the conversation off the podcast into the community where we can have more conversation around these things and how we can actually be present to what God's trying to do and what we're going through versus just flying through and not really feeling like we're connecting with him or with anyone around us. So, because this is important work, obviously we need resources. So what would be a good next step for someone if they want to start managing their nervous system, if they want to start doing this inside out work so that, it's redeeming their time? What would be a good next step for someone to take?
I would invite you to try your first love move. Have your first love move inside out makeover experience. Just start with one. Not to understand it, but to experience it, to notice what changes in your body and your brain. So yes, I have a free 6-minute inside out SMRM makeover that I will share with you. And this video will just walk you through exactly what we talked about. We'll do it together. It'll be you and me, and we will sit there on that video and we will just take 6 minutes and we will make over those thoughts. And I will send that to you, Alyssa, so you can link it in the show notes.
Yes, we'll link it in the show notes. Yeah. We also want to talk about your new book, Love Moves, which has just come out. This episode is coming out in the beginning of May, and I believe the book came out just a couple of weeks ago. So tell us about Love Moves. Who is it for? Where can we find it? Might be a great Mother's Day gift as we're thinking about this time of year.
Oh, I love that for mamas. Yes, we should bless all the mamas with that. And I can't even believe it. I'm saying that it's out in the world. Like this little book baby is born. It's adorable. And I want you to see it. But Love Moves is really the book for the woman who knows those whispers. You're not enough. You're too much. Try harder. Stay quiet. And those thoughts feel like truth, but they're not. So in this book, I help women break free from those lies. I help them step into the peace, confidence, and joy that is already theirs in Christ. So it's full of real stories, some highly embarrassing, some are great, some are beautiful. These 6-minute inside out makeovers, and just this faith filled invitation to renew your mind, to capture your thoughts so that you can experience what I call a heavenly makeover, where your thoughts, your heart, and your life start to shift. And I'm already planning to use it every year. I'm going to host Bloom gatherings and just keep growing and connecting alongside other women.
I love it because we need to do this in community, right? And that's such a beautiful way to do that and have a resource like that. So we'll make sure we link to the book so you guys can grab that as well. And like I said, come join us over inside the Redeem Her Time community where Ash is a member and we can have conversation about these things and get your questions answered as well. So if you're not a member yet, come find us at redeemhertime.com/community. If you already are, you can just go straight to redeemhertime.com/member and we will see you in there. So thanks, Ash, so much for sharing your wisdom, your experience, just what's God's put in your heart to help women with something that's so important in order to experience our time differently. I know a lot of women are going to be blessed by this conversation. And so I just want to ask you, like, you've probably spent all this time and focus ever since I've been talking to you. I've been working on the book project. So that's been like top of mind, this is what it's time for. But like now that we're in the season, where the book is here, how would you answer the question, what is it time for? And why do you want to see a good return on that time invested?
I listened to you ask this question at the end of all your podcast episodes, and I always think
She's
each
going to ask
time,
me one
what
day.
would I say? Yeah, what would be my answer? And when I first thought about it for this episode, I was like, a nap. I definitely want a nap.
Yeah.
But when I really prayed about it, I realized for me, it's the time, it's the season for connection and joy with my daughter. So I have an 11-year-old daughter. And a few years ago, God called me to write a book. He woke me up, he scooped me up, and he brought me back to life. And that book was not Love Moves. It was a pretty terrible book about mermaids, like pretty awful middle grade book. And now my daughter wants to write it with me. So we are revamping it. Her whole 5th grade class is helping. And it's this beautiful full circle moment. So for me, it's time for that. I want a good return on my mermaid time because those are the moments that matter the most.
What a beautiful picture of just, like how you get to do this together and bringing in even her whole class and resurrecting something that maybe felt like, what was that all about back in the day? So what a fun.
Like, what was that?
Right? So different from Love Moves, but you never know how God's going to connect those things. So I pray that'll be a really good return on time invested with your daughter and then with those who get to read that book as well. So thanks so much for being here with us. And like we said earlier, if this episode has encouraged you, if you're Emily or Rachel, or you know an Emily or Rachel, please share this episode with her so that she is hearing, about some things that she can do that are going to help her to really experience her time a little bit differently. So share this out and we will see you guys next time.